down in New Orleans. Let me tell you about me. I came to Mardi Gras just a country boy. I bought my fiddle and my moonshine joy. Joined the parade, having so much fun. I felt so good, I started to shoot my guns. Mardi Gras mambo, 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 down in New Orleans. Mardi Gras mambo. I wish I was down there, but here we are. I'm here in Forest Knolls, California. Some of you might not know where that is, but it's up from a town called Fairfax. I've lived in this area. I've lived all throughout this area. This is God's country to me too. I'm here with George Peterson. I have a friend out in Bolinas, one of my favorite places. One of his too, I found.
I used to live there, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
An artist named Peter Turner. I did a show with him. Some of you might remember the show I did with him at the art gallery there. And he was telling me about George. And he said, some of these days you might want to go talk to this gentleman. He would be a very interesting conversation for you to have. So I'm here today. And for those of you who are listening, oh boy, it's going to be too late by that time. But anyway, I'm going to be at the Point Reyes Saloon at the Old Western Saloon in Point Reyes tonight. But it's going to be too late by the time this gets out. But remember, I'm at the Bonton Elroy's Lighthouse Smokehouse in Monterey every second Saturday of the month. If you're in Monterey, just drop in. Now, George, could you give an explanation of what your project actually is?
Yeah, well, the main thing I wanted to talk about, because I'm a psychologist, and what I feel is that people make assumptions about who they are and what they can do, what's possible, but they don't check them out. They just sort of absorb them from the culture. They say, like back in my youth, and back then, women were told they couldn't be doctors, they weren't smart, they couldn't do this and that. And now the majority of people graduating from medical school are doctors and what changed? It wasn't that women got more competent or smart or anything. They just changed their perception of what they could do. Like really what was good is that movie that came out recently, Barbie, really talked about how that was a big part of the revolution of women like really saying they could do anything. But still, it's like also men too. Like, what can we do? What can we do as humans? What is possible? And if we just absorb it from the culture, we stay locked in the culture's preconceived notions. And I think that what's happening now is we're really seeing that those limitations are really starting to break down. People are realizing there's a lot more to the possibilities of life than what they were told, what the culture has been telling them. And I think this is a really exciting times to be born into.
Yes, indeed. I never looked at it like that, but you're right. There was a time when certain things were just off limit to certain people. Not only the women, but just certain types of people even. Certain things were off limits, and the people haven't changed. It's the attitude.
Right.
The attitude has changed.
Right. And so one of the things, if you look at things like one of the things you looked at Europeans back before Columbus, and they had all the boats, they had all the technology they needed to make it to the continent over, but they just didn't think there was one there, so they never tried. And like a lot of people would wish they had never done it.
Yeah.
But instead of that, the point is that you can have everything you need to do something, but if you don't believe it's there, then you're not going to go.
Keep on. Sorry about that.
Okay, and so so what the part of this whole thing is that a number of years, like hundreds and hundreds of years ago, that people believed in a very spiritually based universe. There was gods, there was forces, there was all sorts of unseen forces that controlled things, had influences on life and everything. And then, for a couple reasons, one is that there was a bunch of people that manipulated that understanding to become in control themselves. You had these very powerful churches that allowed no dissent. But then there also became this scientific revolution where people really began to look at truth. And that's one of the things I've been most interested in my whole life. What is truth? What is the real truth that's actually happening? And so this whole scientific revolution happens, like starting maybe in the 1600s until today. And as that got more and more of reality was described more and more accurately, the whole idea of spirituality began to dim. We didn't, there was this article back in whenever that was, 70s or something, God is dead. We don't need this concept anymore at all. We got science is figured almost all of it out, and the rest of it they'll figure out fairly soon. And that was pretty good. There was a huge bunch of progress by getting rid of the old faulty concepts that were used to control us and stuff like that, to use to control the population. But what's interesting right now, I feel like, is science has now moved up against something that it is starting to have a new opening. What I think is so interesting is that astronomers can look with their really advanced telescopes and with everything they have, and they are certain, very certain, that we only know where 5% of the universe is. 95% of the universe is missing, AWOL. Where is it? This isn't just a small problem. This means that there's some massive revolution about how we conceive of reality can take place if we can find the other 95%. Well, the thing is, a lot of us know where the other 95% is. There's a lot of people who've been working in it and dealing with it and are familiar with it, and have been for centuries. It's quite obvious where it is, and we call that the realm of spirituality. So I think what's happening now is science, which is sort of the current great God, this whole thing, has now come around where they see the limitation of their understanding of reality. They see their limitation of truth, and it's beginning to fall apart. The scientists are beginning to go, oh my gosh, the people were right. Not completely, not the old God. No, that concept isn't right. But there's something there. There's something there. And now the thing is, what if there's something there? Well, is it sort of like Columbus? We're sitting here on our little patch of land that we're used to, and there's realms and spheres that we could move to, and we have all the things we need. All we have to do is believe and do a little bit of a journey, and we can get there. Yeah. And it's really interesting. What is there? It's amazing. It's 95% of reality is out there.
That is something to think about, isn't it? My goodness. Yeah, truth. What is truth? I did a big thing about that, because of the way the country is going now with all of with all of the misinformation and all of the stuff. I really got deep into that. Recently, I delegated myself to listen to only one side of the political aisle's shows, and just immerse myself in it.
Uh-huh.
And I don't have to call out what side of the aisle it is. Most people would know. And I found out that one side of that aisle, that I listened to them for about a week.
Uh-huh.
I listened to the YouTube shows and all of the stuff, and then when I drove, I had the radio stations on. And I said to myself, after a week of that, I said to myself, I understand how come so many people are just batty.
Yeah.
Because they listen to all of this propaganda and all of this twisted stuff, But anyway, So
Yeah,
what?
along that line, like the whole thing with truth, like what I've gotten to is I will never know it as a concept. It's like there's a saying that the map isn't the territory. Like any concept I have of truth is not going to be the truth itself. I can maybe get a really good concept, one that's better than some other one, in some level, but I'm never actually going to really know the truth. I might be able to directly experience it, but I'm not going to be able to have a concept, which means I will never be able to communicate it to someone else so they can take my concept, unpack it, and know something. No, the truth is more subtle than that. It's more real. It's more real than our ability to comprehend it.
Um, hmm.
Well, think about that one, huh?
Yeah.
So, so like the thing is that if you look at the things that are happening that are really showing us that for sure the conventional concept of reality is wrong. One is astronomy. If you like the whole telescope and stuff like that. Like if you swing something in a circle, put something on a string and swing it in a circle, if you put like a big rock on a small string, and you swung it really fast, the rock would break off, right? You know that. You just expect it. Well, they can do the same thing with they look at the galaxies, these huge monstrous things like our Milky Way galaxy spinning around. And you can calculate all the gravity that's holding it together. There's not enough gravity. They know.
So some would be.
It would just fly apart. If you looked at how fast the galaxy is spinning and all the stars and added up all the gravity it's holding together, there's not enough. That's why they came up with this idea of dark matter. They said there's got to be more gravity, a lot more gravity, like a way more gravity than they can see there. So, and they can see these effects of these things that have gravity, but they can't actually see the thing itself. That's what they call dark matter. So they know a bunch of stuff is missing there. And then you look at the little small things, like you can look at atoms. We can actually see atoms with some really powerful microscopes, but there's pieces of atoms that are even smaller than that. And when they look at all that stuff, they have equations, they have knowledge about that stuff, like these huge machines they make that split atoms apart and stuff like that. And they can see that stuff, and they can see that it works. And the thing is, both of those systems are describing reality. They're describing the truth. And they don't fit. They don't fit. They completely contradict each other. So then we have a third one that comes in, which is spirituality. And it doesn't fit those two either. So you got these three systems all describing one thing, the truth. And they all disagree. But now what's happening is they're coming up with a way to all agree. One system. And what the scientists have said is that, okay, we take all the really big stuff, the astronomy and Einstein's theory of relativity, and we take all the small stuff, quantum mechanics, and we can make it one equation, which is called string theory. And string theory has 11 dimensions in it. In spirituality, we've known there's extra dimensions for a long time. That's for thousands and thousands of years. We've said, hey, there's other dimensions. We actually know how to get to them and everything. But now the scientists are going, you know what? The fundamental equations of physics don't work at all unless we have multi-dimensional universe. They're starting to talk about, like alternate reality, alternate universes, and also it's amazing when you go to if you look at modern physicists, they're saying all this stuff. Yeah, there's multiple universes, there's multiple realities, there's multiple places we can go. And people in the spiritual world went, yeah, glad you're finally tuning in.
Yes. Science and the spiritual world have to merge.
Mm-hmm.
In order to be complete. I don't see a separation in them actually. You know what I mean? They're so many scientists also believe in spirituality also.
Right, more and more. Right.
Yes, yes.
Right. And there's real practical uses of it, because if you look at stuff like, I was very interested, I went to, Kaiser, which has a big medical establishment, very conventional and everything. And I went there, and there was a sign that said, acupuncture this way. See, and if you look at acupuncture, it has nothing to do with the actual physical body. There's no, acupuncture meridians are not following nerve fibers or anything else. They're real, but they're following the subtle body. They're following a different dimension of our form. And now these large medical organizations are recognizing that they're valid. They actually see they work. I mean, for the longest time they fought it. They said, no, it can't be true. They said, what is it based on? And now they see it works. They don't know why necessarily. So, but this is important, because that type of stuff, there's things you can cure and help with acupuncture you can't do with conventional medicine. So there's things we can do that in these realms to really help people out that we can't do otherwise. We can't do otherwise. And particularly things in the realm of psychological things, of relieving psychological stress and suffering. To know that there's this other realm where things are happening, everything is happening for us, not to us. Like, if you look at just material reality only, that doesn't make sense. But if you know the deeper stuff, you go, yeah, it's coming from this deeper source. There's this deeper well that's actually the source of the spiritual support we get.
If you're connected with tribal people, which I somewhat am, we're well aware that there are other dimensions. I'm gonna give you a good example. I just thought of this. I haven't thought of this in years. The early '70s in New Orleans. We were all doing LSD.
Right.
And here's an indication of entering another dimension. And in the middle of this party where we were at, there was a whole bunch of people there. All of a sudden, I stood up and told the people in the party, I said, do you have candles here? I was frantic about it. Do we have candles? Do we have candles? And the people are going, Alligator, what's wrong with you, candles? I said, get some candles. There's a blackout coming. And everybody's going, yeah, right. Take another tab, okay? And seriously, I went around, I kept telling them, I said, a blackout is coming, get some candles. If you don't have candles, we're going to need some candles. And everybody's looking at me like I'm completely nuts. And about 45 minutes later, there was a blackout in New Orleans.
There you go.
So that's just one of the little indications, what I mean, that you enter these spaces where most people don't even know exist.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a really good illustration of why it's so important to get in touch with it, because then you're enmeshed in this natural flow of the universe. You're not fighting the universe. Maybe you're like so many people, they're fighting the natural flow of things. Don't work out.
You become a conduit.
Yeah. And you get in that flow, and in that flow is where things feel so good. That's why you know you're in the flow, right? You know you're in the flow because everything is feeling really good. And so many people are going, why don't I feel good? Why is everything so stressful? Why is this? Well, that's because, you're swimming against the stream of the natural flow of the universe. It doesn't work. It doesn't feel good. And like you're saying, and when you tap in, people are going to be more likely to tap in if you tell them, hey, there is a natural flow, and here's how you can tap in. If they have that knowledge, like I got really high grades in high school and all through school and everything, but when I got out, I felt like I didn't know anything. They hadn't really taught me the stuff that was important.
It was important, yes.
Yeah, they didn't say there's a natural flow of the universe and here's how to get in it. That'd be the most important thing for anybody to learn. And like you're saying, you didn't know where you knew that from, but you knew it.
Oh yeah. There's many instances of that. So anyway, we're going to wrap this up here a bit, but this is really really interesting. We're going to have to do a follow up on you at some point.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You know, so tell the people about your website or however they can.
Yeah, it's knowthyself.fyi.
Now, know thyself.
Know
That's was attributed to Socrates.
The Eleusinian Mysteries, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I think it's also so knowthyself.fyi, and what I try to do is help people to get in that natural flow, because we absorb stuff when we're growing up, and we get reactive and we store stuff in our psyche, and there's ways to release that, and when you release that, you return to the natural state. This is the natural state. You don't have to do anything to get there. You have to quit doing the things that keep you out of it. So
that's wonderful. So people can contact you. Through
their website. Yeah.
And the website is called Know Thyself.
Knowthyself.fyi.
.fyi. I'm going to be going and looking at it. I'm going to be coming over and having more conversation with you, because I like this whole thing. And we'll do a follow up. We'll come back and do a follow up once I do a little stuff myself. Okay, so this is Alligator in Alignment. I'm going to cut this off right now, but stay tuned, because my political commentator Bobby the Bunny is coming up right after this to do a little political commentary. Bobby the Bunny's been working very hard. So I'm going to say for right now, go to knowthyself.fyi. George Peterson, we will be talking with him again. Do you hear me? Okay, so listen, like I say, stay tuned, because Bobby the Bunny is going to be doing his political commentary when this comes out.